Here with Eric Vincent for your favorite Detroit sports show, Beyond the Box. We are live and we are ready to talk Lions off season. We are ready to discuss some impact of the Jalen Carter news that broke today, and we want to grade the Detroit Lions free agency now that we are live on Mondays and Thursday nights at 9 o'clock. Make sure you're here. Make sure you're dropping those comments so that we can respond to them. And don't forget to check out down below where we have our store link for gearupdetroit.shop. A great amount of apparel and things Detroit based that you're going to want to get to. And one more thing, real quick, there is a fun and interactive way for you to show support for our show during the live segments on Monday and Thursday night. Eric, tell them about it.
Yes, indeed. It's called Super Chat and Super Stickers. These awesome features allow you to send us messages and stickers that stand out from the crowd during our live broadcast, making it more likely for us to see and respond to your comments.
Yeah, not only does it help it get attention, but it also helps support the channel and allows us to continue to bring you the best Detroit sports analysis and news. It's a win-win.
It really is, man. Using Super Chat and Super Stickers is super easy. Just click on the $ icon in the live chat during our broadcast. Choose whether you want to send a Super Chat or a Super Sticker and follow the on-screen instructions. Your message or sticker will then be highlighted for everybody to check out and see.
So while you're joining us tonight on Beyond the Box, don't forget to show your support and stand out from the crowd with Super Chat and Super Stickers. Let's keep the conversation going and grow this Detroit sports community together. And we're going to do that talking tonight because we've already got comments from Dolo Dynamite that says, I'm still taking Carter.
Oh,
And
okay.
you know what,
We're going to talk about
Eric?
it.
We're going to talk about it because
Let's do
today, Jalen Carter reached an agreement with the Athens Clarke County solicitor, basically making this thing go away. He pled no contest. He has received a $1,000 fine. He also received 12 months probation, 80 hours of community service, and he has to attend a driving course. Now, his lawyer came out and said, and I want to read a bit of his statement. He said, Carter's actions did not cause the tragic accident. If the investigation had determined otherwise, Mr. Carter would have been charged with far more serious offense of vehicular homicide. Mr. Carter never left the scene of the accident without being told he could leave. Finally, Jalen Carter had not been drinking alcohol and was not under the influence of alcohol or any other illegal substance at the time of the wreck.
Mm-hmm.
So that news, along with the news that came out about his pro day, and we got to talk about the pro day too, right? Because the pro day, it's another red flag in a way.
It is.
And it's causing a lot. Like, if you read through Teddy Jackson, one of our writers here at Detroit Sports Nation, he was the one that wrote the news about the plea deal that that Carter reached today. And the comments on there, man, there's a lot of people that want nothing to do with Jalen Carter.
I saw it. I absolutely saw it. He's dropped a lot in everybody's eyes, not just in mock drafts, not in fan stock, everything. But we see in the comments, I mean, people already still want to take him, right?
They still do. And listen, I know you do. And I do.
I do. Of course I do.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Of course I do. Listen, I don't think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think he's. Listen, first of all, you should have some concern. Having both of those issues together at this point, you absolutely should be concerned. If someone was to tell you it was one isolated of the other, then maybe I could hear it. Those two together, putting on 9 pounds in only like a couple weeks? He wasn't down there for that long. So seeing that again, I kind of like that the legalities of the situation he dealt with, they're moving a little bit quicker. It's not lingering, hopefully, into the draft. They were able to find something to, resolve and get it done with quick. But this is definitely impacting him. At this point, I don't see him going top 5 anymore. I really don't. Like, I think the Lions are going to be in a position where they're going to have to make a decision because I think this is definitely taking a hit. There's defenders they like ahead of him with the positions, the teams that are in front of the Lions. I see him slipping down. Do you?
I do.
Yeah.
And I think Brian's got a little bit. He's on the right track,
He
right?
lost
Brian,
focus. Yeah.
he's a lot. But to be fair, he's had a lot on his mind recently,
Of course.
right? He's had a lot going on that can pull attention away from what his focus is,
Of course.
right?
Of course.
So it makes sense to me that he comes in 9 pounds heavier than the combine.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense that he's a bit winded during the drills, doesn't run the 40. That makes sense to me. However, and I do tend to agree with a lot of the commenters from that article and the people that are commenting here. There's going to be people that have pause.
yeah.
There's going to be people that are hesitant with Jalen Carter. I'm seeing a lot of comparisons to Nick Fairley,
I did hear that too.
who
Yeah.
had a ton of talent coming out of Auburn, and then did not really perform well as a professional.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so torn. Because all of that makes sense to me.
It does.
Because all of that adds up to, yeah, maybe this is somebody we really should consider passing on. However, if we do pass on him, there's a good chance he makes it to 9, and we have to face him with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
So, do you draft him and say, Aiden, John Kaminsky, Aleem McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, you're his mentors. Wherever you go, he goes. You
Mm-hmm.
teach him the way. You teach him the lion way.
Yep.
And we take these red flags and we make them green.
Yep. I think it's a good foundation around him to make that happen. That's another reason I'm okay with taking him. And the position is just too important as well. Like he's a good player. We've seen nothing but good things from him on the field up until this point. You can't help but be a little worried. I mean, you brought up Nick Fairley. I remember when Nick Fairley,
Truth Teller brought him up too.
yeah, when he was drafted and he walked up the podium for the post game or for the post draft like talk, people heard him breathing hard and being out of breath like sentence by sentence. People ripped him and worried off of that. But I still think I still think there's enough of a culture, enough of a foundation where the players around him, the coaching staff around him can help reel him in. I think this is a turn of a tide in this franchise. I think you can afford to take some kind of risk because I believe if they don't, it's probably the biggest risk they're going to have. Because if Chicago trades down, one of the commenters just said it. If Chicago trades down, they still find a way to get him at 9. That's not a good look. You cannot let Chicago end up with Jalen Carter. You cannot. You cannot take that chance, yo.
No, I'm like, that's what makes me nervous, right? Was what happened in September a bad moment for Jalen Carter? Yes.
Yeah.
But how many other 20-year-old kids have had mistakes that are just not publicized like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Again, I don't want, when we talked about this, I don't want to minimize the loss of life that occurred. I don't want to minimize any of the seriousness of this situation. But if he's there at 6, it will take some massive huevos to pass on him.
It would.
It would take massive huevos to pass on him.
I think the Lions are still the best team, I think, equipped to like take a chance on him. If you look at the teams that are in front of the Lions that are still trying to establish a culture, establish a foundation, like Panthers, Texans, the Raiders. These are just teams around where the Lions are picking. The Colts, Seahawks to an extent. I mean, the Seahawks are on the upper trajectory, but I still don't trust Pete Carroll and what they're building in that franchise necessarily. The Cardinals are a mess. I think the Lions are really the only team that are stable enough to be able to take that chance on Jalen Carter. We're agreeing on the same thing. If you should have worries.
Did you ever think that you'd be able to utter those words?
No,
the
not
Lions are the team.
We're the saviors. That's right. Hey, look at how it started out. When it was early, it was like, oh, he's got to get punished. Come down to the Lions. Now all of a sudden, we're the ones that can save him and bring him back to his saving graces.
So True Teller, it has an interesting point. Like, choices have consequences. Which truth? I'm with you 100%. And I when I was a teacher, I taught that consistently. I teach it to my 5-year-old now. Like, the decisions you make have consequences 100%. Holmes has never taken a guy with character of any kind, even in the later rounds. There's truth to that, and maybe he does pass on him, and that we would have to live with that. I understand the concern of the fan base, and I have no problem with people that are like, no, I'm a little too hesitant. Like, you're totally validated in saying that. Where I struggled, though, is when everybody's like, he can't stay in shape. He wasn't on the field that much in Georgia. He played like he led the team, like, third most snaps on the team last year in Georgia. He's not a pass rushing defensive lineman. That's why he was off the field on third down.
Exactly.
He's a run stopping, havoc wreaking defensive interior lineman.
Mm-hmm.
If you need him to be that a couple of times, I think he's still worth that pick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I
completely agree.
So I mean, running the show for us at Detroit Sports Nation, does have that villain mentality?
Detroit versus everybody. This is it. He's got it
kind
there.
of on brand, right?
Do you think this is possibly setting up to be the riskiest move that Brad Holmes has made? Because Goff is up there. But this, knowing where Carter was, knowing how he's fallen, I think this is setting up to potentially be his biggest risk so far.
Well, and he may not even have to make it. Like, if Arizona takes Anderson and the Seahawks take Carter, he may not have to even make it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's as big of a risk. Like, we were talking the other week about Anthony Richardson and how he's probably the most polarizing prospect, right? He's either going to make a GM look like a genius or cost the GM his job.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could put Carter on that level yet.
Okay.
I don't think I could.
Considering everything attached to him right now.
It's close. It's close. Yeah. It's close.
Okay.
I think the production and the stuff. I mean, look, the guy in college was an absolute monster, right? Graded out at a 92 overall in 2022, according to PFF. Mm-hmm. He had 392 snaps. 273 of those were pass rush snaps, 3 sacks, 5 hits on the quarterback, 24 hurries, and he batted down 3 balls. And he's above average in their comparables. Like, he's off the scale above average to everybody. Like, this is not a bad player.
Right.
So when, we got, Truth asking us, would we take a primarily run-stopping DT at 6? Yeah. You know why? Because what was the one game that cost us the playoffs last year?
The Panthers,
when they ran for
1,000 yards,
1,000,000 yards on us.
Jesus.
Like, and it's a huge need for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be okay taking him at 6 if he is there. It's just, I get it. Like, I everybody that feels like you don't want him, you most likely are going to be. You could be right, and I have no problem with that at all. I don't know. I don't know. Let's get to some. We got some questions here. Is it Cassie says, "Hey guys, what do you think we really need in the draft this year?"
You think you need a Jalen Carter? You need a game record that makes everybody around you better. Yeah. That he's exactly what you need. Honestly,
there's truth to that. I'm so tempted after what's happened in free agency. We're going to get to our free agency grades here in about 2 minutes. I'm really considering trading up. I know.
Whoa, he's
I
Jay.
know.
No way. Wait,
I know.
for Will Anderson
I told you,
okay.
and I'm
Yep.
nothing if not consistent.
Yep.
The only way I'm trading up is to get Will Anderson.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
I'm not mad at that.
So I'm really considering it. I think it would be very pricey, but I'm considering it.
It's worth it, man.
I think it is too.
It's
I think
worth
he
it.
is the premier surefire prospect in this draft.
Yes.
I don't want to see him waste away in Arizona and their dysfunctional family that they
No.
have there.
No.
I'd rather not see him go to Seattle and have to see him in those ugly uniforms.
Yep.
I want to see him in the Honolulu blue.
Absolutely.
So if you ask me what we need Will Anderson. That's my answer. And there's been some situations, some mocks where he's fallen to us.
I've seen it.
I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. I also agree with Cassie here. We need Jake Moody.
Kicker is a need,
but
absolutely.
we're not taking him at 6. Let's
No.
be very,
maybe
very,
the 6th
very
round,
close.
maybe.
Yes.
You know.
And yes. Steven here says, or Stefan says, if Cansey is a close second to Carter, and is Cansey a close second to Carter, and if so, do you take him, Cansey, at 6 if you cannot trade back?
No. Not at 6.
Not at 6. You trade back for Cansey and maybe, 12, 13 around that area, or you literally every mock that I have done over the last week, and it's been probably 30 of them, Cansey is there at 18 every time. No matter who I take, no matter what happens, he is always there at 18. And, if you could make a move and not lose 18, trade up to get Will Anderson and then add Cansey at 18.
Just read my mind. I was just about to bring that up. You can find a way to do that.
I will literally only ever say good things about Brad Holmes if that situation were to work out where he got those two guys in the first round.
That's filthy.
It's filthy.
Absolutely filthy.
It's absolutely filthy.
We're gonna get into free agency, but considering what they've done so far, it to me opens up the opportunity for them to do that. Get aggressive and trade up. Take Anthony Richardson, maybe. I don't know how the chat feels about a quarterback, but that's on the table now. Running back's not on the table anymore. Bijan Robinson is not going to be an option at 6, considering what they've done.
Not at 6. Not at 6. I agree
not at
with
6,
you.
Right? Not at 6.
I agree with you.
There's a lot of weird things that could happen with him at 6, man.
No, maybe on the table at 18, Bijan. I wouldn't like it necessarily.
I don't think I'd like it either. I think I'd hate it.
But maybe on the table. It may be on the table. Let's transition, okay?
Okay.
Let's get to our free agent grades. Okay? The Lions have made moves, and we've been talking over the last couple of weeks. We really can't determine a draft strategy until we've seen what they do in free agency, and they did some things in free agency.
They did.
Okay? So in the chat, those of you that are watching, drop a letter grade for us. How would you grade the Lions free agent moves? Now, let me say this. We put a poll up on our YouTube page. If you haven't subscribed there, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Pound that bell for notifications. Like and share this video so that we can continue to build this Detroit Sports Nation community.
Yes.
You get the best content from us. I guarantee it, because it's me and Eric. So like and share the video so everybody else can enjoy us as well. We put a poll up on that YouTube page. 90% of fans approve of the free agent moves. They loved it. Let me get to the exact question that was asked. But we asked on our YouTube page, are you happy with free agent moves the Detroit Lions have made so far? 90% of respondents said yes. 10% said no. So my question to you, Eric, we're getting a lot. Trutella, he says a B. Let's go through these real quick. Trutella says a B.
Okay.
Dolo Dynamite says a C. Interesting.
Dolo. Oh, Dolo?
James says a B.
Okay.
Steven says a B. Steven, if it's Stefan, I'm sorry, but you say a B. Jeff Hurley says a B plus. Okay. We got a few other comments. Anthony Richardson will be more Malik Willis than Jalen Hurts. Please avoid him like the plague. Let someone else draft him and trade back. There's that potential.
Tough crowd,
right? And Thomas, he says, I don't think a running back, and I don't believe a cornerback at 6 or 18. Maybe a corner because we've got 2 that'll be free agents next year. We're going to get into that. Alando says a B plus. So every free agent Brad Holmes has signed this year was an upgrade. There's truth to that, except for one, in my opinion, and we'll get into those grades. So
let's talk about it.
The Lions have signed, and we'll just go in order. Cameron Sutton, cornerback. Alex Anzalone re-signed. David Montgomery, running back. John Kaminsky, defensive end. Emmanuel Moseley, cornerback. Isaiah Buggs, defensive end. Re-signed Will Harris, cornerback. Matt Nelson, offensive tackle. Reynolds, not Craig Robinson, the dude from The Office.
Love Craig Robinson.
Reynolds, I do too. He's so funny. Craig Reynolds, running back. And then Graham Glasgow, they got today addressing that offensive line. There's a theme.
It is.
What's the theme of the Detroit Lions offseason?
I got 15 cent. I'm trying to buy up as much candy as I can. Try to pinch my pennies as best I can.
Frugality?
A little bit. He didn't go. Okay. He didn't, overspend. I thought that was the theme.
And he did twice, in my opinion.
Okay.
He did twice, but go ahead.
And it's also a culture thing. We're gonna get into the specific grades of each player, but to me, when you have the season like they had last year, even though momentum doesn't carry on, it's still important to establish a culture. So to get rid of all the guys that helped you get to what they did last season, I think would have been a bad look.
For sure.
Bringing back Kaminsky, who said, "Hey, I'll take less." Bug said, "I don't even want to answer the phone for nobody else." Like, these are people who wanted to be here and help establish an important foundation for the team. So, yeah, I think that was the theme as well, to help establish that culture. I think they did that.
I think the theme is we were deficient and we are no longer deficient. Meaning we're not going into the draft with massive needs anymore.
Facts.
To the point where if somebody steals somebody ahead of one of our picks, we're like, oh no, like, what are we going to do now?
Mm-hmm.
Because now the draft is just going to complement the holes that we have already filled.
Right.
3 cornerbacks. 2 of them pretty darn good cornerbacks. Yes. Oh, and by the way, 2 guys who have played together previously for the Tennessee Volunteers. And in fact, when Moseley was a recruit for Tennessee, guess who his on-campus tour guide was?
Who?
Cam Sutton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
so
that.
you got that connection, right? How would you grade based on value? So what we did, just to set everybody up, what we did is we took the amount of money, we took the length of the contract, and we said this is the value. And we graded it based on value. So, yeah, there's going to be some low grades. Like, I'll be right off the rip. Alex Anzalone is the lowest grade that I gave. It's a failing grade. It's 50%. Because that signing to me was a terrible signing. But it's not a 0 because he's still going to contribute. There's still going to be some value there, but not the most value. Like, you could have had Levante David for literally $750,000 more a year. Right? Like, okay. So, down the list, Eric, Cam Sutton. How much value did you give that?
Cam Sutton gets a 90 for me. I know it's a little, I don't want to even say it's that pricey. It's not that pricey to me. Based on what this team needs. And you know what? Let me go back to another theme that they're addressing. Experience. Some veteran, been there, done that, like, type experience from a player. You can't just rely on young development at this point. So bringing in a guy like Sutton on an elite secondary, a very high defense, I think he's exactly what they need. This guy that can play inside, they can play outside, good tackler, great cover skills. Again, as we talked about last episode, is former coaches, teammates, like guys in the ownership. They're talking about him as the smartest player on that defense. Now you have that here in a young foundation where they need a little bit of direction. They need guys like him that can help steer the ship and make that secondary better than what it is or what it was last season. It's a 90 for me. I almost gave it a 95, but it's a 90.
I'm right there with you. I'm at an 85. I like the value. I thought it was a great signing. I think he's a great cornerback. I'm gonna pull back from the word great. I think he's a solid cornerback, and I think he solidifies a need. Right. I'm not gonna go out there and say that he's top tier, because he's not necessarily top tier, but he's exactly the kind of guy that you need. And you hear him in his interview today, and he's like, "They pursued me hard, and I want to be here. There's something special going on." Right.
That's right.
Moving on to Alex Anzalone, I gave it a 50. I think it's way too high of a contract for a middling linebacker. The value's not there for me, especially with the people that were still on the board. So for me, Alex Anzalone, he gets a 50.
I was gonna agree with you, but I'm swaying myself into accepting it. I gave it a 65.
You got blue Kool-Aid in that. You got blue Kool-Aid in that cup?
I gave it an 85. No. It's no Kool-Aid for Anzalone. Sorry. But I'll give it a 65. And it kind of goes to the point I was just making. He's somebody that came on a little bit stronger towards the end of the year. Maybe not so much in the Panthers game, which is obviously the biggest L of the season. He did show some good things, though. And considering the fact that they still don't have a lot of linebackers anyway, like they could upgrade at both of them in terms of Rodrigo and Anzalone. You can find a starter to replace either of them at this point. And considering that they don't have that,
I am going to cut you off right here. Rodrigo, he was solid last year.
He was
as a
solid.
Rookie, as a sixth-round rookie. Why would you want to replace that?
I'm not saying I want to. I'm saying you could. You don't have to. I think he obviously outperformed his expectation. He's supposed to be a special team 6th-round grit guy, but he was a serviceable starter the whole season. Yes. I give him his credit for that. You could still maybe find something better. Did he flash every game? Not necessarily. He's a good player. He's serviceable. We'll see what he does as he grows. But for Anzalone, I believe he's serviceable. He's stable. And I think he brings a little bit of that leadership on that defense as well. I don't think he's a great player, but I understand why they brought him back. Coaching staff loves him. His teammates love him. I get it. I give it a 65. That's as fair as I could be.
All right, let's move on to something that's a little bit more positive. David Montgomery, which was a shock. This is, I think, the shock of the free agency. This was not expected.
No, not at all. This is the biggest surprise for sure. I gave him a 95. This is a 95 for me. I'm not bothered by the money he got. I'm not bothered by Jamal leaving. I think, again, as you just said, this was not just their... I don't think this is most surprising. I think this is the best signing that they had. I think he brings a huge element to this team. He's 25 years old. You're not paying him like Saquon type money. 18 is still a pretty decent deal for 3 years. And he might not even if he doesn't, like say he stinks it up the second year, you can still get rid of him after that.
Yeah. But it has the potential to be a 2-year, $12 million deal.
Right. So for me,
it's not a lot.
I think he brings a completely different element to this offense. He can catch it out the backfield, unlike Jamal Williams. He's younger than Jamal Williams. He's a home run hitter, and he can play in between the tackles. This is their best signing. This is a 95 approval for me.
I disagree that it's their best signing. I disagree. Okay. And I actually strongly disagree that it's their best signing.
Okay.
Because you never pay the second contract to a running back. We've talked about this. They're one of the 2 least valuable positions on the offense. Wide receiver being the other one.
Right.
Of the last, and I forget how many years, Super Bowl winners, all of them made less than $1.2 million a year. running backs. Running
Okay.
backs have won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a very polarizing signing for me because I do really like David Montgomery. I do like him. And I think that he's a good running back. And he's only 25 years old.
Bingo.
26 if you round up with the days, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just... I think this was not a move to get rid of Jamal. I think this is a move to hedge against DeAndre Swift not being here next year because he will not be here after next year. And most likely, Swift is going to be your complimentary back.
For sure.
Montgomery is going to be your feature back.
I think it's both.
Plus, everybody's upset about Jamal. Here's the thing. Jamal, we love Jamal because of who Jamal is. Not because of the football player that he is.
Oh, but he's the most beloved player in Detroit sports.
He
Oh,
is.
my gosh.
And he is. But that's because of who he is, not because of what he necessarily did on the field.
Which is why Cade Cunningham should have been first because of who he is on the
Okay.
court and off the court.
Now you're just
Fine,
getting
man.
into the territory that we call bitter. So let's
Fine.
drop it.
Fine.
Okay?
I'll keep myself going.
However, Montgomery has the same career numbers in 2 less seasons as Jamal Williams does. He ran for 800 yards last year behind that Bears offensive line that was literally Swiss cheese.
Yep.
Him behind our offensive line is going to be... I mean, you're bordering on potential rushing champ,
No question.
barring injury and all of that.
Totally agree.
So I gave it an 80. Because
What?
I took value away because they paid a running back. But yet he's still going to be valuable, so I gave it an 80.
So if he does, let's say he gets 1,200 yards. I think that's what he's gonna get. Let's say he gets 1,200 and double-digit touchdowns.
Oh my goodness, great minds think alike. Austin, my man.
I don't know. I think it's their best signing, and I think considering you upgrade at the position, he's just about as young as a rookie. Like a lot of rookies coming out are not as old as he is or young as he is. Yeah. And he don't have that much. Well, he has injury issues for sure, but
he's had
25 years old. I don't think he's, I don't think he's played his best football, and I don't think there's a lot of wear and tear on him yet.
No, and I agree. I think that we saw Jamal Williams' best career season, which he will not replicate again.
You were right. You said that it might have been an issue with him, like because DeAndre was hurt all the time, so he had to be the one to carry the bucket. He struggled with that, like towards the middle. Like he's good with where he was needed, but to be the man every game, that might not be his game. Montgomery
which is why
though.
you have to be fine with them moving on from Jamal. Yes, it sucks to lose his personality.
Yes,
but you upgraded. This is an upgrade, which is why he got the grade that he got from me. John, let's kind of run through these pretty quick. John Kaminsky, he wanted to be here. He earned himself his bag. It very team friendly in the first year, and then based on performance, it'll balloon up in the second year. 2-year deal, $4.25 million. I gave it a 93. Addressed a need. Kaminsky, when Kaminsky was on the field last season, remember he was hurt for a stretch, and what happened during that stretch? The Lions went 1-7.
Mm-hmm.
When Kaminsky was on the field, the Lions won.
Yep.
I gave it a 93. I found that to be a valuable signing, bringing him back, securing that front seven.
I'm okay with that. I gave it an 85. I had it at 80. I gave it an 85. Only because I thought
Montgomery and Kaminsky.
Only because I thought a little bit that they were going to decide between Kaminsky and Bugs, bringing them both back. I gave them both actually the same scores, but a lot of what you said is 100% spot on. A lot of those wins that they had were on the back of him. He was making some big plays, like the strip against Green Bay. Like he got to the quarterback a lot. I believe against Chicago as well. He was a very, very productive player. And again, to establish the culture for a guy that wanted to be here on the most important part of your defense too, he was a must. And bringing him and Bugs back was huge. I'm gonna give it an 85.
So you gave Bugs an 85 as well. You gave them the same grade.
Yep, they got the same.
So I gave Bugs a 90, just a little bit lower than Kaminsky, just because he wasn't on the field as much as Kaminsky. Both dealt with some injuries last year, but I still like the value, and it's really team friendly. Like 2 years, $2.25 million. Like that's a great deal for the Lions.
Absolutely.
Emmanuel Moseley, and then we'll run through the kind of like the lower tier guys that they got. So Emmanuel Moseley is like the last kind of big signing that they had. Yes, they re-signed Will Harris. Yes, they re-signed Matt Nelson, Craig Reynolds, and Graham Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
But Emmanuel Moseley, for me, was the best signing.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. He was one of the best corners in the league in the 5 games that he played last year. Yes, he's dealing with an ACL injury. I understand that. But a 1 year, $6 million, prove it DJ Shark deal.
Yep.
That's a no-brainer. The value that is there to solidify your corner spot. It's the best value. I gave it a 96.
This signing tips their draft decision making completely at this point. Like, I don't even know if Witherspoon and like I don't know what they're planning on doing, but those corners not the pressing need that it was just before. I agree with you. I'm at a 90 as well. I think we play our cards right. We can move up twice and get Anderson. And, okay.
F them picks.
All right, Kyle. We're close to the weekend, David. But hey, you know what? Come on, I'm with you, David. I don't care. Let's go.
Drink that Kool-Aid, man. Yeah, I'm with
you, pal.
It'd be awesome. But David, great comment. Comment of the night. F them picks. We don't need them.
Moseley's an awesome pickup. Yeah.
What did you give him? I'm sorry.
I gave him a 90. I gave him a 90
okay.
as well. He's you hit every point for sure. He's very talented, even with the injury concerns. Having him on a prove it deal where at this point, the guys that you had in front of him or behind him with Okudah and Jerry Jacob, I don't know what they do with Okudah, but Jerry Jacob as your nickel or your dime package corner is a huge upgrade. Instead of having him have to be the number one guy, I think Moseley and Sutton together are going to be very, very important for this defense. So I give it a 90.
Dr. Detroit's 100% right, though. Brad, through free agency, like these guys that we're running through, he has put himself in a position to draft literally anyone he wants.
Any position.
He has not. That's the thing. We're not going into the draft with a massive need. These needs have been addressed because, like, we run down the list of, like, the lesser, right? They brought back Will Harris. Will Harris is a lot better than when his first couple of years in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Once they moved him from safety to corner, he got better. I like that deal. $2.53 million. I gave it an 80% again because it's solidifying that secondary. Our secondary: Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Moseley, Will Harris, and Jeff Okudah. Now, you add a Christian Gonzalez at 18. You add a Joey Porter Jr. at 18. You bring depth to that room through the draft if necessary. That's a good secondary.
And those kids can learn too. If they were to be drafted, they're not in a position where they have to perform right away. They can learn, make some mistakes, maybe, but it's not as much pressure on them now at this point. Yeah, I'm with you 100%.
All right, what'd you give Matt Nelson? Kind of a low, $1.3 million for a year, 27 years old, just offensive line depth.
Yeah, it doesn't move me. I gave him a 60%. I don't know how much we're gonna see him. The tackles did a good job of staying healthy this season. I know Decker spent a lot of time hurt. The first year they had Penei Sewell, but I'm not sure how much they're going to use Nelson. So, I mean, that doesn't do a whole lot. I'll give it a 60.
I gave it a 55. Craig Reynolds?
65. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah. No, I honestly didn't think they were going to bring it back. It feels like it's kind of a crowded point. With the 3 back system, though, it's not going to move.
Yeah. Guys, I think Eric's having a little technical difficulty. When we get that connection going, we'll get it back. I know Craig Reynolds for me was an 80. I liked it because it added depth to that running back room as well. And then finally they had Graham Glasgow. So let's see if Eric's back connection wise, and we will go from there. Eric, you good? You had a little technical difficulty there?
Yeah, Xfinity.
It's all right. It happens. That's what happens. So what'd you give Graham Glasgow?
Glasgow, I gave it 85. This is a huge pickup. I'm stunned. For one, they get rid of Evan Brown, who was terrible last season. All his penalties, a lot of his mistakes, and the guard position obviously was the weak link of that offensive line. Bringing back someone who's familiar with the guys around him, a Michigan guy as well.
Go
Kind of
Blue.
surprised Denver didn't keep him, but I know they needed to shave off somebody. But I like it. I love this move. Again, the Lions are in a position where they needed to add some veteran pieces, and having Glasgow back as one of those on this young offense is huge. I think this is a great solidification for this offensive line.
I'm with you. I gave it an 88.
Okay.
I liked it solidifying that offensive line. We know we need a guard. We don't know what they're going to do with Hal Vaitai. So Graham could fit right in there. What is your overall grade then for the Detroit Lions free agency? And then we'll get to some of these last questions before we sign off for the night. What's your overall grade?
Brad Holmes, come on down. You get an A, my friend. You get an A. This is one of your best free agency classes. You get an A for what you've done so far. The week's not over, but as of right now, I can't give him anything but an A. This is a knock out the park for what he did this offseason.
Okay, I liked it. I gave him an 81%, B-. Like, it was solid. It was a solid free agency class. There were some good things, but then there were also some bad things. Alex Anzalone being the bad thing, in my opinion, that brings that grade down. Matt Nelson is what it is. But, I mean, truthfully, like, those two guys are what bring this grade down for me. And then again, obviously signing David Montgomery. I like the player, and I'm glad that he's a Lion and he gets to run behind our offensive line. And I'm really excited to see what he does. But for me, it's a B, B-. It's just, I'm sorry, man. As far as value goes, I think there were better options out there, specifically at that linebacker. If he goes out and gets Devin Bush, would have been cheaper and probably produced better than Anzalone. He's for sure more athletic and can cover. Alex Anzalone allowed a 90.2 passer rating against last year. That's terrible.
It's terrible.
It's not good.
I get
and
it.
we signed him to $6.25 million over 3 years.
I'm okay with you killing that move. This is the Montgomery one that's scratching my head. I think this guy, like you just said,
again,
I think he'll be one of the
contract for a running back.
If he's one of the 5 best running backs next season, I don't care.
That's fine. That's fine.
That.
That's fine. It's just, your winning teams that have won the Super Bowl aren't signing those guys to second-year contracts. So it just gives me pause, and I feel like I'm validated enough to give pause. He's an upgrade from Jamal. He's going to take over. He is the RB1 in my mind. And the deal's not bad, right? $6 million a year. Okay, I get it. That's not bad. But it's just not what winning teams do or haven't done traditionally. So that's where. So let's see. Let's get to some more of these comments, and then we will sign off for the night. So do you think we can trade up and go after Will Anderson?
Yes.
We've already touched on that, and that, I feel like that's the move at this point because you don't have a ton of needs. You don't have a ton of needs going.
Go be aggressive. Be aggressive, Brad. This is the time. Go get him.
Dr. Detroit says, I think we just keep our goal line running back. Now we draft a replacement for Swift in this draft. Yeah, but Montgomery's more than just a goal line.
Exactly. He's both.
Goal line running back for sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, Eric and I are going to be live every Monday night at 9 o'clock, every Thursday night at 9 o'clock to talk more Lions off season with you, to answer your questions and to talk with you to build this Detroit sports community. Do not forget, if you are on YouTube right now, or if you're not on YouTube, go to YouTube and subscribe to the Detroit Sports Nation channel. Hit that like button on this video. Share this video so all your friends can take part in this goodness as well.
Yes.
And don't forget to pound that bell so you can get notifications. We will have another show that will drop at 5 p.m. tomorrow on Tuesday, breaking down the Lions secondary and also talking about Aaron Rodgers' departure from the NFC North and what that means for the Lions. We will catch you all Thursday night, or Monday night, actually, because it is Thursday night. Holy cow, my day has been messed up. We will catch you guys Monday night at 9 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining in the conversation. We love y'all. We appreciate the support. Don't forget those super stickers, that super chat to help support us so we can get you more comment. We love y'all. We will see you guys for another show tomorrow and then Monday Night Live.